Greetings, friend. Welcome back. This is just a quick little video just uh, to give some advice, perhaps a professional opinion on leveling the rogue, because the rogue definitely uh, it's tough to level up. It's kind of the black sheep of the three paths when it comes to leveling, but it is a popular choice nonetheless. So, just going to show a few things to make it much easier to do so. I guess starting out, we can start with the affinity, right? It kind of depends on what you want to do. I've tried the other more popular affinity setups, and for the most part, they're pretty alright. So, for starters, you've got half strength and half dexterity. And what that will do is give you a fair amount more crit chance, which is kind of what all the rogue is all about, as well as some much needed agility and some decent evasion. Um, it is a rather popular choice, especially once you get to the end game and you start refining your build. A lot of people will have a pretty even amount of strength and dexterity. They might have more dexterity, more strength, give or take. Um, but leveling with that is not too bad. I will say um, the lack of heal power can definitely catch up with you, but you will crit more often, obviously. But crit chance, especially at the early game, is not something you can rely on, but getting some bonuses here and there definitely helps. So doing that is not too bad. And another popular thing that I see a lot of rogues do, at least on the leaderboard, is going all in dexterity, which in theory is alright, because at this level, that's 80 dexterity that I'd be getting, so that's about, what is that, 320 crit chance? um, I can't do math right now. That's like 15% extra crit chance, right? Yeah, something like that. That's not too bad, but your attack would definitely suffer. Even though rogues have a free 70 attack, meaning that they really don't need much more than what they get from affinity, that's still pretty low. So if I didn't have this strength, I would be losing 160 attack. Yeah, 160 attack. That's a lot of attack, losing that much. So that would put me below 300. And that's not enough to get through a lot of the more dangerous enemies. Now, if you crit all the time, I guess it would kind of even out, but you don't crit all the time on a rogue. Even at the end game, like in game rogues will tell you, no matter how much crit chance you have, sometimes you just won't crit. Maybe like 3 or 4 turns in a row, it just doesn't crit. Um, but I will say it's not terrible. And if you kind of already have full dexterity and want to change it out, you could start putting points into strength. Like no matter how much dexterity you have, just start working on the strength part. Or you can wait until you can respec. Now, the respec point, you get 2 free respecs while leveling up at a 70 and 30, well, 30 and 70. Um, so if you can hold out until then, you can do that. Or you can try to make what make what you have work for you until you can get there to sort of push through it. Or you can just buy a respec potion. They're pretty cheap on the market here, if I can find it. Yeah, they're pretty cheap. But yeah, so 100 dexterity or 100% dexterity. Not exactly the best, but you can make it work. Half dexterity, half strength, pretty good, but definitely struggles in a few small areas. So then there's this one. This one is kind of the one that I use for any build, really. Going half damage, strength or will, depending on what class you are, and then half endurance. That way you're getting a lot of attack or magic, and a fair amount of both defenses and heal power. So from this, I'm still getting that decent amount of attack, but I'm also getting 80 defense, magic defense, and heal power for free. And what's even better about this is that the rogue is healing, which is all lifesteal. Lifesteal is not reduced by your defenses like percent based healing is. Like healing light over here, if you have a lot of defense but have very little, or not enough heal power to cover that defense, you won't heal yourself that much, as it says in the bottom paragraph, right? But lifesteal is not reduced by your defenses. It's solely based on how much damage you deal to your enemy. So, the going endurance isn't really going to hurt you, even though you do have a net positive when it comes to endurance, because it does give both defenses and heal power. It evens out point for point, so you'll heal yourself more than what you would without it. So it's still a good stat to have, regardless. But yeah, so I would recommend, like I said, half strength, half endurance. But if you want to go half dex, start having more agility to outspeed monsters, or just have more crit chance in general, that's fine. That's all right. So that's the affinity out of the way. Those are kind of the three main things you can try to work around. Um, I haven't really tried going 100% endurance. That might be a little weird. But at the same time, you can never have too much endurance, right? As long as it's not eating into your damage too much. But so yeah, that's the affinity. Now the tree, it kind of depends on how you want to level. So if you were going to go like rogue monk or rogue bard, you would have a different tree, of course. And again, like I said, you could just wait until level 70 to respec, but it does take a while to get to 70. So I can understand if you want to level as the build or class you want to play as all the way through, or the path. They're not called classes in this game. Still. So there are some benefits for going monk or bard, right? So the monk has all four elements in the skills it has, which is really nice because a lot of the dungeons you will kind of want to have a nice mix of elements. Rogue mostly has air and fire, which is nice, but um, you'll start running into enemies that might resist one or the other, and it's kind of hard to keep up with. Like if you want to heal, and someone might resist your fire, but they might be physical tanks, so they might resist, or they might not take much damage from your air either. Things like that. So having a nice elemental variety is nice. From here, especially with the Rooster Crow, because Rooster Crow is water, and water skills are really rare in this game. Like there's not a whole lot of water to be found compared to the other elements on the tree. It's also got 4 uses and gives you evasion, so it's kind of neat. Dragon Punch is very strong. It depends on the enemy you throw it at, but for a lot of the damage dealing enemies, a lot of their damage comes from critical hits, and this will really severely reduce their crit chance. So it's pretty nice to have for that reason alone. It's also got 4 uses too, and also it's got 2 elements, meaning that if they resist fire but they are weak to air, like the steam dwarves are, it'll still do some good damage to them, regardless. So because it's half and half, in case you don't know. And then horse stance, which is also really nice. You get some regen, which um, is always good to have. It heals you, and you get to attack or do whatever you want to while it heals you. So it's a good thing to have on any build. Also some more evasion, but also it's an earth skill. You may notice that I have an earth weapon on here. That's because rogues usually don't have an earth skill. Ranger has Hunter's Mark, but that's more of a situational debuff skill you want to put on a tanky enemy. Outside of that, they don't have any earth at all, so I try to keep, like I said before, the elements balanced, try to have a bit of everything. So That's why I have an earth weapon on my rogue, and having this will give you another earth skill to use, especially since horse stance is kind of expendable. It does light damage, has 3 charges. You can kind of use it whenever you want to. It'll give you those buffs, and it's not situational at all. Is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, and of course you get all that evasion for going through the rogue monk. Now, of course, most rogue monks would go down to fleet footwork anyway. So I guess it depends on which you want to go to first. Same with the bard. You could go down the bard tree, or you can go down here and get the rest of the rogue stuff out of the way. It's up to you. So the bard is half magic, so it will be kind of strange because some of your skills won't do any damage. Because if you're going just a physical rogue and you're going into bard, you're not going to do much. You're not going to do full damage with some of these skills. So one thing I will say though, Minute to the Forest, free earth skill that's heavy or medium damage, I should say, and has a really nice attack debuff. Most enemies in the game are physical damage dealers, or they do physical damage. There's not that many mages until the end game. End game has a lot of magical attacks and whatnot, but early on, there's a lot of physical damage being flung around. So being able to debuff that on 3 enemies is pretty good, especially since it's Earth. So you can, another Earth skill to play with, in other words. And so in the Song of Storms, it does pure magic damage, so it's not going to do a whole lot of damage, but it does heal you for a flat amount. It's a percent-based HP, percent HP-based heal. So it doesn't matter how hard you hit. As long as you hit someone, it'll heal you. It's kind of like Mystical Strike in that way. If I can, if I can show it, Mystical Strike isn't on the tree, but yeah, it's kind of like this, right? You hit someone, regardless of how hard you hit, you'll heal yourself for a decent amount. It's kind of nice, right? And so yeah, it can be a really good emergency heal if you need it, especially since the advanced rogue and the monk don't have any flat healing skills, but bard kind of does on this entryway to bard anyway. And then there's Bowler of Fire. Now it does half physical, half magic, but it does huge damage. Huge is kind of the highest tier of damage because it goes from light to medium to heavy to huge. So even though this does half physical, it will still do a lot of damage. I believe it is the equivalent of medium, if I'm not mistaken, because light, medium, heavy, huge, they have a numerical value for them. And I'm pretty sure 2 mediums equals a huge. I could be wrong on that. But if I'm wrong, it's about the same as 2 mediums. So, but yeah, there's that. And something else to keep in mind, the stats you get per level, Bard is going to give you some heal power, which is always nice for any path in the game. Heal power is really, really useful. And also it gives you some more crit chance and agility. Monk only gives you crit chance, but also gives you some much needed defense as well. So pick your poison, of course. And then there's the advanced rogue, the advanced path, I should say. Piercing arrow, really nice to have. It's a water skill, so elemental variety. It only got 2 uses, but when it crits, it does a lot of damage, even to enemies that are resistant to water. Grappling hook is always nice to have. I don't use it too often in a regular dungeon, but in a player-made dungeon, or a challenge dungeon, I should say, or against dungeon keepers, that's a really good skill to have, because reducing your enemy's attack and magic is really useful when you don't have much defenses to speak of. And plus it lasts for 4 to 5 turns. So it's a really good skill to just debuff someone so they don't kill you immediately. And then there's Poison Blow. Poison Blow, much like Sneak Attack, it puts a dot on on your target, but poison is a bit stronger than bleed. I believe poison. Okay, I kind of forgot the numbers on poison. I believe that's a 6% or 7% HP, max HP on your target. It's been a while, but it's like a lot stronger than bleed is. And yeah, so you can set that with sneak attack, and if you're fighting a dungeon keeper or just a really tough enemy, like a tanky enemy, you can kind of utilize both of those to kill it quicker and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of the benefits of going advanced rogue. You also get this really nice passive that gives you even more attack and some much needed agility. Now, like I said before, going um, half dexterity gives you a lot of agility because some enemies will still outspeed you, and those enemies tend to be damage dealers like glass cannon enemies. So you kind of want to outspeed them to get the drop on them first. And while I will say the agility that rogue gives by default is usually enough, sometimes you will kind of feel when a DPS enemy goes first. It kind of hurts sometimes. So but yeah, it gives you extra agility. I forgot to mention the Bard gives you even more crit chance, which is pretty big early on because these crit chance passives like Keen Eye over here really start to change how often you crit. It really makes a big difference. Like 200 crit chance is 10% crit, which is a lot. And this gives you an extra 65. It also gives you some more attack, which you likely won't need that much more, but it's there if you want it. Also, some heal power as well. So going Bard will give you some much needed heal power. Well, getting Bard first. It depends on what other trees you want to get. If you're going on the rogue path and go to assassin or ranger, you can pick two of these side paths that have 25 points to get some extra stuff, or you can go into warrior, of course. The choice is yours. So getting that heal power early, pretty good. Getting this extra agility and attack, also pretty good. The evasion, stacking the evasion with the evasion buff from Monk is also pretty noticeable as well. So you have options depending on what you want, right? So that's the tree out of the way. And for my recommendation, if you're playing a rogue for the first time, it's first time playing the game, I would definitely just stick down the rogue tree because the ranger is really really probably the most forgiving of the rogues because it has a lot of useful stuff. So if you want to go down that way, you can. Or I would recommend that, but of course, it's your game. You can go assassin, monk, bard, or even warrior if you want to. You want to be a warrior rogue, that's a thing too. So, but yeah, they all have their benefits and detriments. But for my recommendation, just to make it easier, I would just recommend going down into ranger because ranger's kind of nice. So that's the tree out of the way. So here we have the gear. Now the gear is a little different. If you've seen my older videos and older guides on leveling and all that, well, one, I apologize because I know those videos are kind of rough, but two, I've changed a lot of things about how I make, um, well, just rogues really. The warrior and mage haven't really changed that much. So unlike mage and warrior, which would kind of stack a lot of defenses and maybe have a little bit of heal power here and there on the gear, on a rogue, from some testing I've done, it seems that focusing on heal power is a little bit better. And what's nice about the early game is that a lot of heal power gear also has some defenses tied to it. So this Holy Water Flask has magic defense tied to it. This chest piece has both defenses tied to it as well. Like you won't see that at the end game. At the end game, heal power is tied with your offensive stats. So kind of utilizing this while you can. So I'd recommend just getting maybe half of your gear with heal power like I have here. Don't worry about this staff giving magic. Your weapon stats don't really matter too much. It's just another piece of gear. What really matters with your weapon is just the element, really, and whatever stat you can squeeze on there. Um, excuse me. And also, like before, try to focus on getting some defenses. Like you don't want to go all heal power, although I guess that wouldn't be too bad if you did, but you want to have some defenses in there, especially for rogues, especially if you're not going half endurance. If you're going half dexterity, you really will want some basic defenses. Now, I don't have a whole lot of physical defense here. You can see my physical defense is a bit lopsided. Um, that's because I haven't really felt like I needed to increase it yet. Like, I haven't found any good physical defense pieces on the rings here. Um, I mean, of course, there's the tempered ring, but it's not that much. So, and not much heal power here either. Like, this Rod of Healing has a little bit, but not that much. So, I just went with the crit ring, which, to be fair, is pretty good to just crit a bit more often. That's nearly 5% extra crit chance there. Um, but yeah, try to squeeze in some defenses and some heal power. You don't really need attack when you're leveling up, especially for a rogue. My mages and warriors don't really use attack gear until floor 8, floor 7, because that's when attack and magic on equipment starts becoming more noticeable. But the affinity points are so strong that you don't really need attack on your equipment. So that's why I don't really have any here. Equipment is more for plugging in holes that you might have in your build, right? And I guess the same is true for leveling. Um, if you went all in on magic or attack, you would have nearly the soft cap in attack or magic. Um, at level 100, you would have the soft cap without gear being involved. So that's how strong the tree is. It gives you a lot of attack and magic. So you can focus a lot of your gear on defenses and whatnot in the early game. Uh, and yeah, so that's what I've done here, plugging in holes. Rogues don't have any physical or magical defense, so I give them a little bit of both. They also don't have any heal power, so I give them a fair amount of that. If I were a mage, I would have a bit more physical defense gear, and I probably wouldn't have any magic defense gear because, yeah, there's not really too many enemies that will give you a hard time. Magic enemies, I should say. And if I were a warrior, I would have a bit more um, magic defense gear and also a bit more heal power gear, but not a whole lot of physical defense stuff. Although I guess it would help too, because most enemies are physical attackers, but I wouldn't need a whole lot, is what I'm trying to say. So just plugging in holes. So rogues don't have anything defensively, so give them all the defense they need from the gear. Combined with the half endurance, really makes them much more durable, much more playable, of course. So, and yeah, I guess that's the main thing that I've changed since last time. Because last time I just said go full on defense and whatnot, and your endurance will just give you the heal power you need. That's kind of true, but also not really. If you don't crit with your lifesteal skills, and you have no extra heal power from endurance and all that, you're not going to heal yourself too much. If you crit, you will heal yourself a lot, but still, um, you're not going to be critting all the time, of course. Most of your life steals are going to be from non-crits, so bumping up your heal power really helps with that. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the build I got going here. Of course, again, like I said before, you could have something different. You could go half dexterity. You can go down monk or bard, or just go to assassin instead of ranger. It's up to you. They don't really change too much because the core of a rogue is really just what kind of stats you have. You have lower defenses, higher attack, and really good crit chance. So compared to the other classes, of course. So yeah, so this build, I've got 500 crit chance thanks to the ring there. That's a pretty decent amount. That's 25% crit chance, if I'm not mistaken. 500 attack is really good for floor 6, which is where I'm at. I believe my warriors and my mages would have maybe like 450 at this level, which is still enough, but having that extra attack is really nice. Um, some decent defenses. I try to have 100 defense by the time I hit floor 5, and technically I did. I kind of got rid of some defense for in favor of more heal power and whatnot, but I did have 100 defense at floor 5, and then another goal, another milestone, I guess you could say, is by the time I hit floor 8, try to have 200 defense. So just kind of plan for that. Of course, I know what kind of gear I'm going to get between now and then, but just something to keep in mind if you want to have an easy time in floor 8. Because I know floor 8, it is touted as being easier than floor 7, but that's not the case for every build. It's for most builds, sure, but not every build. So yeah, we'll get into some demonstration here now. I don't usually level with food, and I know before, back in the day, I said, hold off on food until the end game. No, don't do that. You can have all the food you want, because truly, getting materials isn't really that big of a deal. Same with equipment. Back then I said don't upgrade anything, try not to get stuff you're not going to use and whatnot. But truly, it's not that difficult to get materials anymore. Like, materials are guaranteed from enemies. If they drop a certain thing, they're always going to drop that certain thing. Twice as much in challenge dungeons. So yeah, if you want to just like max things out and whatnot, you can. No big deal, really. And yeah, I would usually have this chest piece, but contrary to what I just said, these Zoran eyes are really really rare because, well, I guess these enemies don't really just show up at much at all. So, but I'm okay with keeping my Earth chest piece because it gives me some Earth power because of the elemental bonus. Thank you, Elder. And the defenses aren't too different, but the main thing is that it gives me a decent amount of heal power. This doesn't at all. Although this does actually. I might want to look into this one. But yeah, same with food. I know you don't really know what they are by default, but if you really want some food, you can have at it. No big deal, really. Like, eventually you'll know what these are in due time, and it'll tell you like this is health, I believe. So yeah, it'll just unlock that for you. Um, so yeah, get your food if you want. Upgrade your gear. It'll it'll make leveling easier. Technically, leveling gear and getting food, especially food. Food is really strong in this game. So let's give it a quick example here as well. Starting off with a nice crit as well. Also, I'm catching floor 6 enemies in this house, so I need to catch these guys. So one nice thing about Rogue is Dungeon 2 are full of these steam dwarfs. Throughout the whole from floor 4 to 7, no, 4 to 6, which is like a decent chunk of the game. These steam dwarves are weak to air, which is really nice because yeah, I usually level as a mage or a warrior, and I never have air skills to use against the steam dwarves, but it's nice to have some, right? So I hit it with the sneak attack because it's a medium damage, just to do some good damage, and then I ended it off with the mystical strike just to get my health back up high. Now that's mostly a reflex from the end game, because at the end game, some enemies will just kill you if you don't have 100% health. um, Depending on your build, of course. But yeah, I just like to have my health high between rooms if I can help it. Steam Dwarf Priest. This is a damage dealing healer, believe it or not. So try to reduce his damage a little bit. Of course, I could use sneak attack, but I've only got 3 of them. I don't want to run through them all. So, and it does. Okay, no, I have initiative against it. Okay, that's nice. So I use poison blow, just anything really, and that worked out. I forget it uses water, so they're going to counter with water a lot. The aforementioned Zorn. These guys are kind of bruiser-like enemies. They have a lot of defense, but they also have a lot of damage. Case in point, I'm just going to probably should use poison blow because steam dwarves are resistant to fire. Well, at least most of them are. That priest wasn't. It was just weak to air. But yeah, some pretty good crits in there. Really chewing through enemies. Steam dwarf pride. Crit just like me, and yeah, you saw that heal there. From the leech arrow. That was a 200 and something, 260, I believe. Heal. That's pretty good. That's about as much as mages would heal themselves, give or take. It depends, but yeah, that's really good for a rogue that doesn't have or that has a lot of damage on top of that healing. So it's really nice. And Ard the Inventive, yeah, Ard, poor Ard here is kind of the easiest boss on this dungeon. He's really weak, he doesn't hit that hard. He's also a mage, so I guess if I'm a mage, it's even easier. Definitely showing his weight. Okay, that's right. I forgot. He's resistant to fire, of course. Yeah, that's pretty easy. And something I probably should have mentioned this. I can use slash to burst into an air skill. Now, you might be wondering, why would you want to do that? Why wouldn't you just use 2 air skills? It's mainly from habit from playing the end game, because at the end game, you have to worry about running out of skills. In the early game, there's only like 6 enemies at most in like each dungeon. The end game is 16 rooms long, so you have to make sure you save the skills you want to use for certain enemies, lest you run out and have a hard time. So that's mainly why. But also, it does help your score technically. I don't really care about score, but it can definitely help your score. And I guess in the case of lifesteal, yeah, getting that extra burst damage in your lifesteal means you'll heal yourself more. So it's pretty nice to do that. Steam Gorgon is a full-on physical tank, and surprisingly, it also reduces your attack as well because it like petrifies you, of course. So definitely use dots against this guy. Now, he's kind of like a steam dwarf, weak to air and mostly weak to earth. Not too much, but yeah. I'm going to end it with a mystical strike because, again, it doesn't matter how hard it hits, it'll still heal me. The event chest. Okay, this might be a little dicey. The event chest hits like a truck. Has a lot of evasion. Okay, well, the in-game event chest hits like a truck, but the ones down here at the base game, the base floors, they still do some good damage. So, and their resistances and the resistances and weaknesses flip every floor. So I always forget which one is weak to what. I think this one is weak to fire, I want to say. Maybe not. Okay, well, I'm going to heal just because, yeah, it's going to hit me pretty well there. He evaded the heal. It's not good. He might kill me if he crits. Okay, he didn't crit, and I crit. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's the benefit of having a little bit of crit chance, eh? Yeah, so, yeah, again, one of the things I've kind of discovered or learned not too long ago was not putting all your eggs in one basket. Having a variety of stats is nice, like full balance. Like normally I would like to have my offense and defense and heal power balanced, But those RNG stats like crit chance and agility and evasion, um, they can definitely help you out. And like, kind of like in that case where if I didn't crit, there was still a good chance that that thing would have killed me. I'm going to avoid that trap. Not because it's dangerous, but because I'd like to get more XP. You don't get much XP from the traps in the game, sadly. So, Psycho Squirrel, the Berserker at heart. You don't have any resistances at all, so yeah, but you do a lot of damage to me, so yeah, I get heal, 200 heal. That's kind of strange, actually. Normally at the end game, your Scorching Daggers would heal you a lot more than your Leech Arrow, but I guess that's just the nature of how much damage you deal, because Leech Arrow has a much higher steal, but Scorching Daggers is a lot more damage, so. The Were-Rats, I forgot you guys were here. Were-Rats are weak to earth, but they are highly resistant to air, but fire and water they're kind of neutral towards, so I guess that's another good reason to have earth at the early to mid game, because a lot of enemies in both dungeons, like half the Steam Dwarves and most of the Were-Rats are weak to earth. So the Heavyset is a physical tank through and through. Yeah, as you can see, not really hitting too hard. I could have kept that poison on him, but they are weak to water, so I wanted to get I wanted to get an air blight to crit. Okay, well, he changed his blight anyway, so it's all right. I don't really need to heal. I guess I'll buff because this guy doesn't hit that hard, and also he likes to debuff you a lot. So, will this kill you? Okay, it will if I crit. Sure. Another one of these traps. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, you can't avoid them if they're the first enemy, because if you're fighting, or if you find the first enemy, you go into a dungeon and you don't do anything, like if it's just the first turn, you can kind of back out for free and not waste a charge. Essentially, that's what I did before. The Subjugator, the most difficult boss on this floor. How are you doing? I hope you don't Dragon Punch me into next week like usual. It is a Moondrow, and I believe this one reduces your air and earth power, or at least it can. But I do have initiative. It's got Leech Arrow too, though. I forgot about that. I could go for a sneak attack. Okay, well, okay, I will. This is one shot it, yeah. Yeah, the benefit of having some damage is that. A Dungeon Keeper. Get to show off some of the things. Now, this one is really, really difficult. Even for in-game builds, it's pretty tough to fight. I believe the only builds that can take this on easily are Warriors, because they have On Guard. On Guard and Stunning Blow, and both of those would kind of mess this guy up. But, yeah, Mages and Rogues definitely have a hard time with this guy, so I might not survive. It also depends on who I get. If I get like Trish or Mark, it might be okay. Who was that? That is Mark. Okay. Yeah, Mark is a guardian. He can heal and tank at the same time. Trish is a warden who can tank really well. Like, Trish has way more physical defense than Mark, because Mark is a mage guardian to start with. As you can see by the concentration. But Trish doesn't really heal herself or her party members that well. She can, but she just won't sometimes. But I think Mark is a good balance, because he's got a decent amount of both defenses. So yeah, he'll survive. And Tay, which is also the other common companion, the AI companion. Tay is a really good healer, druid and all that, but she doesn't have the foresight to heal before it's too late, and she doesn't have any agility. So, but yeah, okay, some good damage. I believe this guy is technically a Were-Rat, so Um, should be weak to earth. I don't know if Dungeon Keepers have the same ow, the same resistances and strengths as their normal dungeon counterparts do. Okay, that hurt a lot. Um, okay, so it depends. He doesn't have a crit buff anymore, so he might not crit, but that doesn't really mean anything. Okay, he's gonna buff now. All right, I got you. Okay, this is the one that gives the self evasion, right? Right. Okay, that might not be enough though. Thank you, Tay, but or not Tay, it's Mark. So I used to fighting with Tay, the druid. She's very common for me. That's why we all love her. Oh, okay. Good thing you still had that prominence up. Yeah, that last hit, I got hit when the prominence wasn't up, and yeah, that really hurt. So, okay, good. Get some crit chance. Get some. Oh, I forgot to use grappling hook. Okay, that's my fault. I mean, it might not matter too much with this guy because he does a lot of damage regardless. And grappling hook is only a -1 attack in magic. Um, but it'll definitely help avoid getting like 2 shots. I hope. Got the crit on there. Nice. Okay, Mark is having a hard time keeping himself alive. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. A pretty good example of having way too much defense and not a lot of heal power. You're not healing yourself too much there. Which I mean, I guess that's more of a guardian thing. Guardians have a lot of defenses, but no real heal power. So it happens. Okay, you're going to heal me. As long as I don't get bursted and crit, I should survive another hit if he hits me. So I'm going to counter because I believe he's going to throw water at me if I don't. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's a good thing he hits Mark because he used Poison Blow. That would have burst me there. Yeah, I don't think this guy has the predictive bursting like most of the in-game dungeon keepers. Like if you have an air blight, they're going to hit you with water, and some dungeon keepers will just ignore. Like if you try to change your blight, this will burst you regardless. Might be too late for poison and bleed, but we'll see. Oh, Mark might die here with the poison bleed on him. Ooh. Okay, so as long as I can get this guy down, because Mark is gone, I might be able to just barely kill him before he kills me. Unless he starts being a rogue. That's not good. That's really not good. Okay. Okay, well, he might buff himself actually, because he doesn't have any evasion up. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, if I crit with this, I might be okay. If he crits and kills me, okay, well, yeah. He saw what I was doing and liked my idea, so he took that idea. It's fine though. That guy is tough. The only way you get through that while leveling is being a warrior. To be fair, so. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good showcase. That lasted a while. Like, I got hit for half of my health, but I know for most rogues and some low defense mages, they get just 1 shot in general from that guy. So taking half damage, it's pretty okay. Half HP damage as opposed to getting 1 shot. But yeah, that's a pretty good example there. Now the challenge dungeons tend to be where I kind of fumble a little bit with some of these builds that I make. Some builds I make, like some of the mixed passive builds especially, can really start to have some turbulence in the challenge dungeons, because challenge dungeons or player made dungeons, the enemies, they don't hit that much harder, but they have a much more defense and health and whatnot. So just being a full tanky build might not always be the answer. So the mangrove rock here is usually just a really easy enemy. Doesn't hit that hard. Isn't really that tanky. It's a little tanky. It's got some resistances, but no real physical or magical defense. That's a level. But in here, as you saw, they actually did some pretty good damage, and also took a while to kill. So that's what I mean. Get a sneak attack just to get his health pretty low. I could try using a leech arrow to end it off if I crit. If I don't crit, it's not going to kill him. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's pretty decent. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Because before I wouldn't have any extra crit chance on my gear when leveling a rogue. But as I said before, I've discovered the beauty of kind of having a bit of everything and kind of refining that balance. So having some crit chance here and there, some extra, ain't too bad. Really helps out. Psycho Squirrel, despite its attack buff, usually doesn't really hit that hard. And technically, the same is true for the challenge dungeon. But if it crits, it will hurt, though. I guess it's more of a rogue than a berserker. Steam Gorgon. Wow, I did not think I'd put one of these in here. Because this thing is hard to kill for physical builds, but especially ones that rely on lifesteal, because you can't hit that hard. But oh well. Okay, I guess it's not too bad of a heal. I'm out of mystical strikes. The life of a rogue, eh? Yeah. I guess there's another thing I didn't really mention. With going half endurance and having some decent defenses is that your deflect chance is actually pretty good. So I will deflect a lot, and a lot of enemies will just die to my deflects. Yeah, okay. Well, to be fair, that was a tough one. These are all my dungeons, of course, and usually I make these pretty easy, so I can get through them with other characters for farming materials or dungeon equipment, things like that. But yeah, I don't know why I put that Gorgon in there. That's usually really tough. I would normally have enemies that don't hit too hard and don't take too long to kill, but I'm not too sure. Well, I did, but yeah, we'll do another one right quick. That was just a tough one. Wasn't getting lucky with the crits either. Yeah, cause see, if you crit with sneak attack or poison blow, you'll get 4 turns of bleed or poison. Whereas if you don't, you'll get 2 turns, and you have to hit him with slash to keep it up. But if you crit with slash, it'll extend it more. So it's all dependent on if you crit with sneak attack, poison blow, or slash to in order to keep the dots on an enemy, and also use another skill if you need to, like a heal or something. I'm definitely needing a heal right now. Don't want to be too low on health. Yeah, although I guess the benefit of having like the half dexterity I was talking about earlier, you would rarely get outsped. So walking around with half health into the next room isn't as dangerous as going half endurance, because it is possible that an enemy will go first and hit you, possibly crit you, evade your attack, and then hit you again. And depending on the enemy, it might just kill you in 2 hits when you're at half health. So something to keep in mind. Okay, I thought that would kill you even without the crit there, but I guess not. Okay, Steam Dwarf Pride. I'm okay with buffing on you. Yeah, I mean, you may be a rogue, but you don't have a whole lot of crit chance. Yeah, those critical leech arrows are really nice too. Okay, that was just pressure pump. You didn't use your critical shooting. It's fine. Okay, so this is going a lot better, you know? I was kind of hoping for a crit there, but that's fine. I just wanted to burst with the Scorching Daggers. Sally didn't get the crit, but, you know, that's okay. That's fine. And Ard, the easy one, of course. Why didn't I have the easy one on the last one? Well, then again, when I make these player-made dungeons, it takes a while to catch certain enemies because they might not show up at all. And of course, dungeons have a timer before they can be, uh, played again. So I guess I was just tired of trying to find a certain enemy, and I just went for the Gorgon or something. Oh yeah. So yeah, like as you can see, you get double the resources for challenge dungeons. That's the main reason I make them, because some of my characters might need, like Dwarf Iron, especially for crit builds. It's really nice. The egg. I really don't want to fight that thing. This dungeon keeper. I mean, it's not that hard. It just takes forever. Even with bleeding poison, it takes too long to kill that thing. Um, but yeah. So this was meant to be a quick video. I apologize. I kind of went into more detail than I should have, but just to show that leveling a rogue, while it might be more difficult than leveling a warrior or a mage, especially a mage, mages can level really easy. Um, I guess warriors can too, but regardless, rogues can definitely make it work. You might die sometimes in the challenge dungeons, but from my experience, you can get through the normal floors without dying. Mostly, like I haven't really had a death since like floor 4, and that's just because of the difficulty spike. Because floor 4 is when the game kind of starts. Floor 3 and below, the game is really easy. It's like you don't even have to use any skills. You can just use your basic skill and get through the first 3 floors with no problem. Um, but I digress. So yeah, rogue leveling, it's not that bad, especially later on when you start getting crit gear. It starts becoming much more manageable and kind of nice and all that. But either way, so yeah, that is all. I will see you around. Ta ta for now.